And welcome everybody to this defense of Isaac Shiri, who will defend publicly today his thesis. And before we start with the, let me see if I get this up here. Yes. So before we start with the presentation by Isaac of his thesis, let me first introduce the jury members. So first we start with those people who are not from the University of Geneva. And let's start in maybe from the person who's furthest away, Professor Issam El Naka, who is from Tampa, Florida. Thank you for joining the team. Then Professor Chi Liu from Yale University. Hopefully that is a little bit closer to Geneva than Tampa, I'm not so sure. But thank you also, Professor Liu, for joining today's thesis. Then two people who are a little bit closer. Well, one person first, Azedine Begdadi, professor at the Université Sorbonne in Paris. Thank you also, Professor Begdadi, for joining us. And then two people quite close, Professor John Pryor and also Professor Jean-Philippe Thiron from EPFL and, well, First University and then EPFL Lausanne. Thank you also for joining. Then we have people from the University of Geneva. In principle, Professor Olivier Michelin should have joined us, but he unfortunately on short notice was not able to make it. But then we have the thesis supervisor, Professor Habib Saidi. Welcome, of course, to you too. My name is Carsten Kruse. I'm part of the doctoral school, of which Isaac was part of, or still is part of. And I have the great pleasure to guide you through today's session. Unfortunately, I got a bug and I preferred not to come in presence today so that I keep my bugs for myself. So I'm very sad that I cannot be there in person with you, but I hope still that we are going to be able to get a nice defense. And now I think without any further ado, it's time for Isaac to defend his thesis. The title of his thesis is Multimodal Modality Medical Image Analysis using Radiomics and Deep Learning. And we're very happy now, Isaac, to listen during the next the upcoming 45 minutes to tell us what you have done during this thesis. And then afterwards, we will start with questions and go on. Okay, please, Isaac, start.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to this meeting. I'm going to present my thesis entitled Multimodality Medical Image Analysis using Radiomics and Deep Learning. So to start with the background of this study, I'm going to go through the current radiology framework. When a patient enters to the room of the radiology, we need to do lots of steps to get a diagnosis or any analysis from that. So it's start with this data acquisition. Then we need to process these images coming from the MRI, CT, PET, and then we need to be sure about the quality of the images which generated to be analyzed with this physician. And then we need to somehow manage the data set. Somehow this save the data set with this other center. For example, radiology need to share the data set with the oncology department. And then physician do the detection, quantification, and the analysis. So this is the main framework in the radiology. And this all algorithms mainly perform on the conventional way. And also human observer as a physician or a physicist do these tasks. So this algorithm need to be improved as they have some limitation. I'm going to go through the radiomics term, which is recently used. So radiomics refer to extracting high number of image feature from the image and then mine through this process of the machine learning or deep learning to extract your desired information. So we can build a diagnostic, prognostic, or predictive model. It could be done by using the conventional algorithms, such as this conventional radiomics process through the machine learning, or by using this deep learning process from the segmentation to the modeling process, which could be done as a classification, regression, or time to event analysis. So to start this motivation and our aim would be to somehow to improve, automate, and enhance radiology framework, different steps based on the need of this and also based on the question which is needed to be addressed in the clinic through the different steps. So I'm going to start with the data acquisition in a radiology department, which could be acquired through the CT, MRI, PET. So decreasing the time of acquisition or decreasing the dose of the radiation for the modalities such as the CT, PET, SPECT would be highly desired. So in our first study, we aim to halving time of the acquisition of the SPECT imaging for the myocardial perfusion. So when you decrease the time of acquisition, you will improve the patient comfort and likelihood and decrease the likelihood of any kind of artifacts such as the motion and also decrease the examination cost. However, when you decrease the time of acquisition, so you will amplify the noise, decrease the image quality, and most likely have the false positive and false negative through this. So in this study, we proposed a halving time of the SPECT imaging for myocardial imaging by using the two main approaches. First one is just decreasing number of the projection, which is from the 32 to the 60. And the second one, just decreasing the time per projection from 20 seconds to the 10 seconds. So by using the deep learning and using the 360 patient images, we build the model to do these tasks. So you can see it here. So this is the ground truth and then generated images from this deep learning for two approaches in the different view of the cardiac images. It shows the good agreement between the generated and images, ground truth. And then in quantitative analysis, both in image space and the projection space, we show that the predicted full projection and full time shows very good agreement with this ground truth images. And then predicted full time somehow generated better quality compared to the predicted full projection. In the next study, we designed a study to decrease the radiation dose in the CT images. So when you decrease the radiation dose and the dose of the CT images, so you would have this reduce this radiation exposure, and then it has the patient safety and would be appropriate for the children, and then would be appropriate also for any kind of multiple time scanning. But the disadvantage would be just like this, increasing the noise and most likely have the false positive and false negative through these scans. So in this study, from the 1,000 patient images gathered from the 9 different centers, we somehow analytically simulate this low-dose CT, and then by using the high resonance architecture generated full dose. And then we quantitatively and qualitatively analyze this, and we show that predicted full dose decrease this compared to decrease the error compared to this low dose. And then qualitative analysis show that we somehow increase this predicted full dose image quality compared to the low dose images. So quantitatively speaking, so we decrease somehow 89% dose. And then you can see the 6 different cases shows here. Deep learning improved this image quality and also preserved the diagnostic information. But in some cases, we saw that even the image quality improved this in the predicted images, but we can see this diagnostic type is changing. So we should be cautious about the using deep learning in the clinic. So going to the next puzzle of this radiology framework, which include the image processing. We've been acquired the images from the MRI, CT, PET. We need to do process some step on them, such as the correction, enhancement on this images to make it interpretable for this further steps. So in this study, we focus on the PET images, which is to generate CT-less attenuation scatter correction images in the PET. The scatter and attenuation are 2 main phenomena in the PET, which is resulting under or overestimation of this radiate tracer. So we need to correct this image, these 2 phenomena in the PET images to get this non-attenuation correction to the CTAC correction. So these are very crucial for this quantification and the qualitative analysis. And then, however, this step are attenuation and scatter correction is a main challenge in the PET MRI and the PET PET-only scanner. So in this study, we propose a direct attenuation correction from the non-attenuation correction images to the CT-based attenuation correction. And then by using a single center dataset of 1,000 patient images, we built 3 different approaches of 2D, 3D, and 3D patches, and then analyzed in the different, using quantitatively analysis both in image domain and then void domain. Here's the example shows that the PET-CT-AC has a ground truth, and through the deep learning, we could generate the almost same quality, and then quantitative analysis in both image space and the void space showed that 2D slices generated almost good quality as a CT-AC, which you don't need to generate it for this purpose. So, however, also in this study, we saw some outlier cases. So you can see this first cases, which is the data was the out of distribution data set. So you can see the non-attenuation correction, and the deep learning failed to correctly reconstruct these images. However, in another cases, we saw this non-attenuation correction, and the CT and deep learning was generated a high quality images, but we can see the high error in this quantitative metric. So, but we found that this ground truth was corrupted. So we are going to use this failure in our next study. So going to the quality control and assurance step, we need to check the quality of image to be sure about the quality of images. So we are going to check the quality of image and the detect any artifact or remove this any artifact. So in this study, we focus on the PET image artifact detection and correction. So artifact refer to any object which is not originated from the human body, which is degrade the PET image quality and then result in time, cost, and radiation dose. So in addition, some of these artifacts is uninevitable, and you cannot correct this artifact by simply just repeating the scan. So also these artifacts just originally generated through this attenuation and scatter correction for the CT images. So there are 3 main artifacts in the PET acquisition, which is first generated from PET itself, another from the CT and or MRI with the PET between these images, and then another one is this from the PET from the CT or MRI propagated to the PET images. So in this study, we propose an inexpensive tool without need the additional hardware or the software to detect and disentangle without prior knowledge all these artifacts in one module. So to give an estimate how they frequent in the clinic, you can see that from the 2,000 patient images in IHG, we just found that 800 patient images as a clean test set. So another from the 1,400 from 8 different centers, we saw that only 300 cases. And then we build the model, and then by using the U2Net architecture, and then quantitatively analyze both in image domain and voxel domain, void domain, and then also qualitative analysis performed on 200 patient images, 200 images by using 2 nuclear medicine physicians in terms of different metrics. So quantitatively speaking, we build a model which is quantitatively performed very well. You can see for the 22 void generated through the different region of the human body in 100 cases, clean tested without any artifact. You can see this SUV mean, max, and peak. You got the error almost 0 for the different region of body. Qualitative analysis by the physician for the different region of the body. You can see the first row for the CT and second row for the PET-QNet or purpose approach. You can see this, for example, for the image diagnostic competence from the 50 increase to the 70. And you can see that's poor and the very poor image competence just removed from the images. In terms of image quality, you can see, for example, from the 2 to 22 as a high score, just increased to the 44%, and we remove almost all poor and very poor image quality in the PET images, which is not originated from the images. Same pattern follow in the different region of the body. Also, you can see for the image artifact, you can see that from the non-artifact in the CTAC from 9%, just increased to 31%. And also we just remove all major or unacceptable artifact and we decrease this artifact. So here's the example shows this artifact. You can see that for the A cases, lesion is missing at the arrow pointed, and then we recovered by using our purpose method. Or second cases shows that diagnostic confidence just improved just by this. And then third one shows that the quantification just increased by purpose method. For the motion artifact, first one for the halo artifact. Second one for the motion artifact, you can see this liver, that much of liver is missing in the CTAC, and then we recovered. Also, the lesion, you can see the lesion is just the shape of lesion change, and then we recovered it correctly. Here's another case of the motion artifact. You can see the two lesions are missing here, and then just recovered in the PET-Q unit approaches. Or you can see another lesion is missing here, recovered here, and then also you can see that the lesion is just mismatched and then mislocated from the liver to the parenchyma, and then we could recover that by purpose method. Here's you can see the mismatch artifact. You can see it for these cases. It just corrupted the CTAC images, which is useless, and then without any additional tools, we just recovered and corrected the images. Here is for the metal artifact cases. You can see the quantitatively effect on the images. Also, we show for the truncation cases, you can see this corrupted images in the CTAC, just corrected by our proposed approaches. So I will pass this data management step here, and then we will go back to this step. And then I will start with the detection and the quantification, which include the image segmentation, quantification, and image biomarker standardization. So manual segmentation is in the clinic is a time-consuming process and prone to intra-observer variability, and also depend on the physician experience. And in the PET images, because of this noisy nature and spatial resolution, which is the poor, all current framework, which is available in clinic, fail to automatically perform these tasks. So in this study, using 470 patient images, we train 3 different networks with different loss function to evaluate the performance of this developed model on this data set. So you can see this proposed method just perform very well across the different tumor in the size, in terms of size, shape, and texture. They generated very well aligned segmentation compared to the ground truth. Also, quantitatively speaking of the segmentation performance, dice coefficient metric shows that there was not much difference between the proposed different networks. So they almost achieved the same performance of 85. However, also in these cases, we saw some cases as an outlier, which is deep learning architecture failed to correctly segment this tumor or GTV. In another study, we provided segmentation tool for the lung and pneumonia in the COVID patients. So for any kind of diagnostic prognostic model, you need to do the quantitative analysis. So for this purpose, we need segmentation. However, in the PET images, in the CT images, segmentation of lung seems easy, but in case of severe cases, which is the lung is have some abnormality, this would be highly limited performance. And also for the lesion, because of the complex manifestation of this lesion in terms of the appearance, size, location, that would be very challenging task to do. So by using 2,000 patient images for the lung segmentation and 190 for the lesion segmentation, we developed a network first for the lung segmentation, and also we used the pre-trained network for the lesion segmentation and evaluated on the data set from the different center for lung and lesion segmentation. Here's the example shows that the ground truth for the lung and lesion, and then we show that the predicted images are very well aligned with this ground truth in terms of the different pathogens, such as the mild, moderate, and the severe condition. And here is you can see the radiologist and the all-purpose method coordinate segmentation. You can see this, they are very comparable and then very good segmentation. Quantitatively speaking, we achieved the DICE score of 98 for the lung segmentation and 91 for the lesion segmentation. To say this generalizability of model, we use this lung segmentation more than 10 study, and we segmented about 30,000 patient images by using this developed model. So there is a scenario. So you have the multimodality imaging, such as the PET-CT, but how to use this information for this deep learning is an open question for this. And then, so as this modality provide the complementary information, such as for the PET and CT. So in this study, we comprehensively analyze this conventional algorithm, 80 different conventional algorithm, and then 3 different deep learning based algorithm, including this input fusion, which is the input as the different channel, or the decision level, each network train PET and CT separately, and in the decision level, they just combine the segmentation. Another one is the network level fusion, which is the weight RDS are in connected for the different network. And for the head and neck cancer, by using 328 patient images, we observed that the single modalities such as the CT or PET generate the low performance, and then conventional and the deep learning algorithm just achieve the almost same performance of 80 in the DICE score. You can see the ground truth and then segmentation from the different center and different network. And also the majority voting, which you combine the segmentation of the different networks, so it just improved the 4% of the DICE score. In terms of SUV, so we achieved the almost 0 mean error for SUV max and peak, and for this SUV mean and median less than 0.5 SUV. So talking about this radiomics feature, which is the image biomarker, so you need to be sure about the repeatability and reproducibility of this extracted biomarker. So repeatability and reproducibility are 2 terms which are very important to build the generalizable model. So in this study, we evaluated the repeatability of radiomics feature from the 70 GBM patient with T1, T2 images, which they acquired with the same imaging unit in 2 consecutive days. And then we registered with the different algorithm of registration and the process with the different algorithm of the M4 entry bias correction, and extract this through heterogeneous tumor from the different region of body. So speak on the radiomics feature, reproducibility, dependent image processing, image modality. So they are very variable. So we should be cautious about the using of this radiomics feature, and then we should choose the best reproducible feature based on this metric. So, but generally speaking, full affine registration with the mutual information function generate the highest number of reproducible feature, and the log processing generate also the bit between the different image processing, and there was no significant difference between N3, N4, and bias correction. Speaking of the quantitative and quantification analysis, we could have different scenario. We could build the diagnostic, prognostic, and radiogenomics model. So in the clinic, so we could build this different model to manage the patient. So radiogenomics is a term which is a connection of the phenotype of the image with the genes information. So in this study, we focus on the EGFR and KRAS genes, like for the non-small lung cancer, as these 2 genes are very important for the management of the NSCLC patient. So how do we measure these 2 genes? Is just by biopsy, which is the invasive and then low repeatability, and then also it's captured small portion of this tumor heterogeneity. So in this study, by using a standard radiomics process, using the PET CT images, by using the different machine learning algorithm, we try to predict these two genes both in univariate and multivariate analysis. Here's the example, shows that for a UV peak extracted from the PET images, for the EGFR achieved the AUC of 69, and for the MTV in the EGFR achieved this, and it's improved with this radiomics feature. And for the EGFR and KRAS, we achieved the AUC of 82 and 83 in terms of AUC by using the different image modality, feature selection, and feature and the classifier. In another study, we did it the end-to-end training for this genes for the breast cancer patient. There are 3 different genes, ER, PR, and HER2, which are very important to manage of the patient. So we try to predict by using the deep learning, by using 900, more than 900 T1 weighted pair and 3 post contrast as a multi-channel input in the network. By using the 12 different network, we try to build this model for this and evaluate the performance of different network for this prediction of these genes. So speaking of the AUC for the ER and the HER2, we achieved AUC of 70, and for the PR, we achieved the 65. You can see the ROC curve here for the different network, and there was not much significant difference between different network developed for this prediction. So they achieved the almost same performance for different networks. Speaking of the diagnostic model, we built the COVID pneumonia diagnostic. So we somehow use the CT images for the management of the patient. So we try to predict and discriminate the COVID pneumonia from the other lung diseases. So by using the 26,000 patient images and the machine learning radiomics framework, we build and evaluate a model based on the radiomics feature extracted from the lung to build this model and evaluate it in the 3 different scenarios. So you can see for the COVID RT-PCR against the other lung diseases, so we achieved the accuracy of 86. For the COVID RT-PCR and non-COVID lung disease, we achieved the accuracy of 97. So you can see this different feature selection and then classifier for the different metrics which is presented here. For the COVID pneumonia and other non-COVID pneumonia, we achieved the accuracy of 94 by using the random forest classifier. So in another study, we tried to build the severity index metrics, which is the severity scoring is important, which shows that effect of the disease on mortality, morbidity, and the comorbidity, and is very important to manage the patient. In this study, by using the 1,000 patient images, single center data set, we tried to build the machine learning algorithm to score 4-class classification. So here the example shows the different features, which is the most repeatable between this and with the high repeatability between different feature selection, shows the difference between different classes. In terms of AUC, we achieved the 84 AUC by using bagging random forest and the MLR classifier for the 4-class classification of the severity. So in next study, we try to build a prognostic model. So when you have the prognostic model, so you can predict the future of the patient and then manage this patient based on this information, which could be used for the clinical decision support or personalizing the treatment or the also the resource allocation optimization. So in this study, by using the 152 patient images and different information such as the clinical, historical, laboratory, and radiomics feature extracted from lung and lesion, and also physician score, we built a machine learning and evaluated model for the different scenarios. So by using the clinical only information, we achieved 87 AUC. And by adding the lung and lesion information, we could achieve the accuracy AUC of 97. So when you build the diagnostic prognostic model and using the one single center data set, that the generalizability may be low, and then so you need to evaluate using the large cohort of the data set to be sure about the generalizability of this model. So in this study, by using the 40,000 patient images gathered from 90 different centers, we build the standardized radiomics framework by using the radiomics feature extracted from the lung region. We evaluated different metrics in the different strategies, such as the splitting, stratified based on the disease, stratified based on the center, and also to see the generalizability, we evaluated the one leaf center out. So you can see this sum feature, which is the mostly repeated between between different feature selection, which shows the somehow difference between deceased and then alive cases. Quantitatively speaking, in terms of AUC, we achieved this AUC of 84 for different splitting strategy. And for the one leaf out center, we achieved an AUC of 80, which shows that good generalizability of model across different centers. When you build a model on using the data set from the one center and evaluating other center. So going back to the last piece of the puzzle of the radiology framework, we are going to talk about the data management in this radiology framework, which shows that how to save, share the data set or build the model, and also harmonize the data set between different centers. I'm going to start with the harmonization. So when you build the model in your center and then apply it on the different center, the model generalizability would be low because of the statistical difference between data set. So there are a different approach of the standardization, which is proposed for different modality, but still this is the main challenge in this area of the machine learning algorithm. So there are different approaches such as the feature level and image level harmonization. So in this study for the EGFR and KRAS in non-small lung cell carcinoma, we evaluated the harmonization, which is well-known harmonization is the combat. By using the two different center data set, so we built a different machine learning algorithm. And we saw that for the both genes, by using the harmonization, it's improved the performance of this model. However, to clear it, that in our previous study, by using the large data set, we somehow saw that there was no statistically significant difference between the harmonization and non-harmonization. So it depends on the task and also how to harmonize the data set. Another issue is this, one of the main issue also is the sharing the data set with the third party. So you gather the data set, so you need somehow to share your data set for other party to do the management of this and perform this analysis on data set. But because of the ethical, legal, and privacy issue, we cannot easily share the medical image data set with other centers. So there are a different approach of the legal and the policy measurement or the technical approaches to do these tasks. So by using 500,000 patient chest X-ray images, we build a model for to share your data set with the different center and preserve this privacy of the images. And then we evaluate it in terms of quantification, quantitative classification and segmentation and texture analysis to see the utility preserving of this model. And also we evaluate in terms of the attacks. In terms of how we build this model is just the model is include the encoder and the decoder, which is the autoencoder model. We just encode the data set to a latent space, which is the sparse obfuscated code we can share with this other party. And who is the authorized has the authorization to reconstruct and the decoder and have the code, they can reconstruct these images from this. However, who hasn't this code and the information, just arbitrarily will generate these images and also be evaluated in terms of the attack, which will show the result. Here is the different level of the sparsification, where you have the lower level of the sparsification. So you have this higher level of the sparsification. or number of the sparsification, you will have high privacy, but low utility. So you can see that's for the 60, so we could generate the good quality images. So to see the utility preserving in the data set, we analyzed the generated images by using this network and see how they preserve the information, and we build the different task 2 and 3 classification. So you can see that for the 8 and 60, we achieved a very good preserving information in the different tasks, but for the 4 sparsification, we achieved low performance. Here is the segmentation for the long region, so we could achieve the good thesis score in all images with a different level of sparsification and original images. So we suppose that there is a scenario, so they have this large data set and they have the encoder, they just randomly generate the unauthorized images, and they have the ground truth as the original, and then they will try this attack to go through the original image from the non-authorized images to this. So by using the different network in the supervised and unsupervised manner, we saw that they can't reconstruct the original image correctly. So they all failed in terms of quantification and also visualization. So in the last chapters, from 18 to 22, I'm going to talk about the federated learning. So I just talk about how to train your model by using the single center data set, or sometimes I said that's multi-center data set. So you can have the different scenario of the training of your model, which is include the center base, which is each center design their own model. So for example, HUG build their own model. This is the good in terms of privacy, but the generalizability of model would be very low. And also, it's not feasible when you train the model, because all center couldn't have the access to the large curated data set, and also good the infrastructure and expertise. The ideal situation is the centralized training framework, which the different center pool data set to one center, and then we build the model based on this training data set. However, this would be very limited in terms of privacy and security. Another approach is the federated learning, which proposed by Google. And then rather than the sharing data set with one center, you build and you distribute your model through the different center, and you build without your model, without sharing the data set, which preserve the privacy. So we tested these approaches into different scenarios, such as the PET image segmentation by using 400 patient images gathered from 9 different centers. We tried to evaluate the performance of this model, which is, you can see the manual centralized federated learning in different center, and the different shape and the texture and the location of the tumor. We achieved the almost same performance, quantitatively speaking, in image level and also void level. We achieved the almost same with no statistical significant difference between the centralized and federated learning approaches for the segmentation. In another study, we just tried to see the performance federated learning for the PET image attenuation and scatter correction by using the 6 different data set, center data set gathered, and we tried 2 different approaches of the peer-to-peer federated learning, or to use the centralized federated learning. So we compared the different approaches. We achieved the lowest performance in center-based, which each center trained their own model, and highest performance in centralized when they pooled their data set in one center. And then between there was no significant difference between the approaches, but the centralized approach achieved the highest performance. You can see the generated images here also. In another study for PET and CT segmentation, we comprehensively analyzed the segmentation performance of this different federated scenario. So also, you notice for the federated learning, we do have lots of challenges, such as the data heterogeneity or the privacy. Federated learning by itself doesn't preserve the privacy, so there could be different attack during the training, so we need to be sure about that. So we evaluated 7 different algorithms in terms of, you can see, to overcome the client or to ensure the privacy, heterogeneity. So we evaluated different network performance or federated learning performance. So again, here center-based achieved the lowest performance, centralized achieved the highest performance. You can see the segmentation here compared to the ground truth. And in terms of quantification, we saw that all methods have a significant difference with the center-based, but there was no significant difference between different approaches and the centralized algorithm. And also they achieve almost same performance in terms of DICE score. So with the Gaussian differential privacy and also the secure aggregation, they achieve the highest performance of the model. So in federated learning, there is a scenario, there is a large heterogeneity between the centers. So even using the centralized model, which you pull the data set in one center, you couldn't get the good model performance because of the highest heterogeneity. So in this scenario, there are different approaches have been proposed. We could use the transfer federated learning, which is you build the generalized model or global model by using the federated learning, and then build the personalized model for each center. So here we focus on the artifact detection in the Gallium dataset. So again, to give you an estimate how they are prevalent in this in the different center, from the 8 different center, 1,400 patients, we only found 400 cases, and then quantitatively and qualitatively analyze the performance of the generated network. So quantitatively speaking, we achieved the highest performance in the federated transfer learning compared to center-based and centralized. And then we continue with this model for qualitative analysis by using 240 patients analyzed by 2 nuclear medicine physicians. Here you can see the CT-based attenuation correction and the all-purpose method. You can see this, how the motion artifact just removed it from image from the 30% to the 30%. And also we remove almost major and unacceptable motion artifact or for the halo artifact. And you can see the same pattern for the different region in terms of image quality or image diagnostic competence. You can see how we improve the image, these metrics by using the deep learning algorithm compared to ground truth. Here's the example, shows the mismatch, which is generated in the CTAC. And then we generated and corrected this in these images. Here is you can see the kidney halo artifact shown by this arrow, red arrow. You can see this generated in CT-based attenuation correction. And then we removed it and we corrected in this by using our proposed approaches. Also, you can see for the bladder halo artifact, you can see it here, just corrupted this image, generated uninterpretable or useless images. So we just corrected these images. So in the real clinical situation, we have this scenario, this artifact, mainly halo artifact, appear on the images, and then we are going to try to address by just repeating the scan. So you can see these cases. First, the scan shows the high artifact, halo artifact in this different region, both kidney and bladder. And by repeating the scan, they just remove it. However, you can see this also, there was no artifact in our approaches. Second case shows that artifact appeared in the first scan. You can see this, the kidney region, and they just tried to remove it. They just repeated the scan, but in the repeated scan, you can see this artifact is not corrected. As I said, that these artifacts, some of these artifacts are inevitable, and you cannot correct it by simply repeating the scan. So you can see this also, this corrected in the OR approaches. Here's you can see this minor artifact generated in the CTAC images in both region, and then they just gonna to get rid of this artifact, they just repeated this scan, and they got this major artifact in both regions. But you can see this federated or attenuation correction between based on the deep learning, achieved high quality images. In next study, we build a privacy preserving prognostic model for the COVID patient by using 90 different center data set, 3,000 patient images. We built a privacy preserving model, which is the Gaussian differential privacy federated learning. And we compared the performance of this model with decentralized approaches. And also we evaluated this in this scenario, as I said, that different attack could be performed during the training of that model. So in this study, we evaluated the membership inference attack, which in this attack, attacker tried to find out is there any data set which a specific data set used during the training of this model. So in terms of AUC, we achieve almost same performance between centralized and federated learning, which shows no statistical significant difference using this D-line test. However, also for the membership inference attack, we achieved the AUC of 50, which shows that there was not much significant privacy leakage or the information leakage during the model training. To go to the last chapter, which is the conclusion and future perspective, in this thesis, we try to build a different model, deep learning and diagnostic prognostic model based on the need and also open question for the different steps, so which could automate, enhance, and also improve the current framework of the radiology. For the future perspective would be expanding this AI application for the different diseases and the different imaging modality, and also build and discover new image biomarker and enhance the model interpretability and explainability mostly for the diagnostic and prognostic model. And also evaluate the bias and fairness and generalizability of this model for this different model. And then also integrate AI with the other emerging technology and also work more on the ethical consideration to solve this data sharing in real clinical situation. And finally, build the digital twins with the AI-empowered radiology, and also do the prospective and clinical trial study on the AI to see how they perform in real clinical situation. And finally, I want to thank all of my colleagues. Specifically, I'm going to start with Professor Zaidi, who gave me this opportunity to do my PhD in his lab. It was a real honor and a pleasure to do so. So I want to thanks again for his all supports, and then how behave during this period, which you don't need feel any pressure, and then you will never feel that you are working for somebody, rather you work with somebody, and thanks for your all supports. And also I want to thank all my colleagues. For sure, most of this study was his collaboration study, and then it wouldn't possible without the help of this my colleagues. And also I also want to thank Professor Rahmim, which I'm working with him more than 7 years, and he will also supported me to enter Habib Labs. And also I want to thank all my colleagues, and also I want to thank all my friends.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if somebody was applauding. I couldn't hear that. So thank you very much for this very intense presentation. So we now turn towards the questions, and I would like to proceed in the same order as I introduced the people. So please, Professor Isam El-Naka, if you may start asking questions.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. This is a very impressive amount of work and impressive amount of productivity. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to your advisor and collaborators on this. So this is quite impressive. I'm curious with respect to some of the applications that you presented, which are quite a bit, and start with the last application on federated learning, because it's a challenging undertaking between doing an algorithmic representation and doing an implementation. So start with that. Did you look at implementation in synchronous settings? And how do you foresee taking these algorithms and actually putting it behind the firewall and dealing with all the issues associated with that?
I see. Thanks for this question. I should mention this, all of the study will perform on this.
Do you want the question to be repeated
Yeah,
so that you
yeah,
get it?
yeah.
Maybe you can quickly repeat the
Yeah.
question for the audience because
For sure. The question was that how do you deal with this when you train a federated learning with this communication and the firewall, this stuff. First part was, I'm quite sure that was the question. For responding this part, I should mention that all of this study performed in the simulation environment in the by using the supercomputer in the Geneva University, which have access to different GPUs. So rather we simulated this model, but you know that we use the TensorFlow framework, which is the simulation world. Actually, we couldn't do this real world federated learning, first of all, and then actually we moved to this some tools such as this OpenFL, which they have lots of challenges to do so real world federated learning. So actually the communication is the one of the main issue in the federated learning we should address, and different approaches such as the lossy compression or the robust or by using the clipping and the display. Also, we simulated this scenario. We somehow achieved the same performance of the federated averaging with this lossy compression. So I think it would be possible when you deal with this communication stuff. It should be possible to this in real world. So I think, yeah, the second part.
Yeah, the second part, would you change any of the designs of the algorithms that you have based on the reality that would be imposed by these practical challenges?
Yeah, we tried this, for example, for the federated averaging, which is proposed by the Google. So we tried this, such as the robust aggregation, such as changing from the arithmetic mean averaging during the weight averaging to the geometrical median, or just changing the how to you know, that's the weight coming from the different center. So we did this lossy or this clipping or zeroing on the weight to see how the performance will changes. So we did analyze this, and then we could achieve the good performance compared to the federated averaging, which is the simple method.
Great, thank you.
Okay, then we go on to Professor Chilu. May I ask you to ask your questions?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think this is well, first of all, congratulations. I think there's a remarkable amount of work in terms of both breadth and depth. That's just I really enjoy just listening to your talk and reading your dissertation, just pondering on your work. That's really great. Just congratulations you and Habib and the entire team for those all the accomplishments.
Thank you.
Sure. I think that's I can start with one question regarding. I'm particularly interested about your work on the single shot, the PET image artifact detection and disentanglement. You have shown several very impressive cases that your approach can correct all those artifacts. So just curious, have you seen some failure cases of this approach, and what are the outliers and what are the characteristics of those cases that did not work as well as those good cases?
I see. Thanks for this question. So the question is just, did you saw any outlier when you build for the single shot this study? So I'm going to mention this first study, which we saw the many, actually not many, maybe 10 cases of the outlier. For example, as at the left side, so you can see these cases, which was the out of distribution data set. The weight and the injected dose was the out of distribution of this trained data set. And also the model was the Siemens biograph 6, and also the matrix size by the 144 without any time of flight. So for these images trained data set, we saw some case of outlier which network failed to this perform this the attenuation correction directly from non-attenuation to the attenuated correction. However, in this study, which we used the large and curated data set from the vision scanner with the high quality time of flight and the PSF correction, we saw no artifact, which is the network failing to do the correction for this. And so we just saw this error, and as we evaluated the different cases, and most of them was this artifact cases, but network didn't fail actually in this study. I would say the reason would be the higher quality, because even though you can compare the non-attenuation and attenuated corrected images, they are very in good quality. You can see that for example, non-AC and the CTAC, they are really good quality, even the non-AC. But for this study, which we show some outlier, you can see the non-AC is just, you can see the, which is the pixelated and the low resolution, and even have some artifacts in original data set.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
But if you don't have any further questions, then we continue with Professor Baghdadi. I think she's in the room, so please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you so much.
I can move.
No, it's okay.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
I think you can.
Okay, okay. Okay. First, thank you very much for this nice presentation.
Thank you so much.
And through this presentation, you can see that you did a lot of work. So if you can go back to the first slide of the workflow, please.
You have a question on each slide, right?
No, this is what I'm. So,
I
of
said this
course,
one. Yeah.
Yeah, then that one. Yeah.
so you did a lot of things, and of course it may arouse many questions, but I'm not going to ask you on the I will focus only on the part where I am supposed to be image quality enhancement and quality assessment, but also about how to identify the artifact. And now my general question is very like general. From your point of view, after doing all these thesis, now if you want to, maybe it's a stupid question. If you have to redo the thesis, what would be the part that need more investment in terms of human resources?
I would say with high confidence, the image quality part, which is the artifact detection and the disentanglement, because this is the real need in the clinic, and also the network works very well. And also in the other cases, with this physician bring it to us, so we can correct these images. So I would say that in the future, for sure, we will continue this. And wanted to do this prospective and then also clinical trial, maybe on this data set, or maybe other center would like to contribute on this to see this, how it's impact on the patient. But I would say this artifact detection and correction is one of the major work which we did it during my thesis.
So my second is related to what you said just.
Question.
So meaning that you, what is missing is to develop some intelligent system, be able to identify, detect these artifacts, and then correct these artifacts. So what you did in your work, so you, what you did you have 4 artifacts, and plus noise.
Exactly.
Halo effect. Okay. So you identify these artifacts only by visual inspection. You don't estimate, like, do you have any metric?
For sure. Yeah, that's really good question. Because you know that we clean the data set by just visually inspecting the data set. Yeah. So there would be scenario which is the minor artifact would be missing during this evaluation. That would be one of the main major obstacle of this work. So during the training set. So however, we suppose that, we were strict in the data preparation from the 2000 patient images. We just selected about 800, which more than half of these images just removed to be sure about the quality of the generated images. So we somehow, this is the, that's what we can do this based on the visual inspection. But there are some studies, so rather than the the screening data set, they build the quality assurance tools using that generating and then a scoring of the images. However, this score also generated by the physician, so also that have some limitation that kind of work to see the quality of images.
And how many experts as observer did participated in this study?
Two nuclear medicine physicians.
Do you think it's enough to
I wish we have more, but that's also for this analysis took maybe more than 6 months of them to do this analysis. So
it's not very easy to motivate, but
exactly.
to spend some time.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. So of course, as I told you in this situation, but I would like to focus only on few. There is some two concepts. You are using the concept of image enhancement and denoising. What is really the difference between the two? As when you enhance the image, it means that you want to increase or to improve the quality. When you denoise, you enhance also the image.
Yeah.
But I somehow agree with you because there is some differences. I agree with you that you have to denoising is something that is beyond to enhancement. But enhancing, you may have an image with good quality, but you want to enhance more. Denoising, you want just to remove.
Exactly.
This is what you make this. This is really what you do.
Actually,
this is really what you think about.
Yeah, that's totally correct. They can be used interchangeably. But what I mean regarding the image enhancement, another study was, for example, led by my colleague Amir. We did it the partial volume correct without prior knowledge, or for the time of flight image generation without the time of flight. I mean this kind of correction which could enhance much more than just only removing the noise. So I mean this kind of correction for the image enhancement, for example, for the PET images. But yes, that's true that when you denoise the images, so you just kind of enhance the quality of images.
So let me go back to the artifact. Did you consider also the level of severity of these artifacts, or you just identified artifact? You see, there is artifact. That's it.
That's a good question. Yes, we did, just like by this kind of analysis. So you can see this image artifact just a score to the 5 score, which is the unacceptable, which you cannot do any kind of analysis using these images. Which another one is the major, so major, and also moderate, minor, and the non-artifact. So we just divided into 5 different categories for the analysis, which is based on the physician experience actually.
There is one point you measure some metrics, SSIM.
Yeah, structure similarity.
I think it's slides number 79. 79.
I think it's this one.
Yeah. So the assessment between the original image
and generated image.
And can you, how do you explain these low values of SSIM? Because with this low value, can you, do you think that it is really the best one of it is appropriate metric to me? Because when you see visually, I may give more than 0.3. So maybe did you think about using other metrics?
For sure. We use the different metrics such as the error estimation, mean error, mean absolute error, PSNR, and we reported all this metric in the paper. But in this slide, I just showed the structure similarity index.
Yeah,
But-
because it's very simple. It can
Exactly.
All these metrics are pixel based. But
Yeah.
why didn't you use, because you are using deep learning, UNet, why didn't you use a deep learning based metric to stay with the same context?
I see. Yeah.
There's maybe a perspective. I know I did,
Yeah,
a
I
lot
see.
of work and just giving some
Mhm.
some
Yeah.
some suggestions.
Thanks for your comment. I just
Because
go-
it's low value, it doesn't correspond really to
Yeah.
the perceptual quality of the images.
yeah, that's true.
Quality is really better than these.
Exactly. That's the line of research. So I think that you're also doing this kind of research to analyze this image quality based on the deep learning. But for this, it just was the part of this study to see how the quality. But that's really a good suggestion. Maybe we could do analyze, for example, for this generated deep learning images for the artifact images, which we don't have a ground truth actually for the single shot. We don't have any ground truth to compare the images. So what we can do is just based on the physician analysis. So maybe we can do this kind of analysis by using the deep learning in that area.
And one, maybe it's not last, if you may, just, you know, in this classical workflow, we segment, we identify, then we classify, and we do some diagnostic. Do you think that we can remove completely the segmentation part and to think for some way how to identify it without segmenting to detect if there is abnormalities?
Yeah,
Because this classical way to doing the image analysis,
Exactly.
we segment and we detect, we put some features and we come.
exactly. That's the way of doing the conventional radiomics process. So for example, in this study, we just crop the tumor region and then input the network and train the end-to-end approach of the learning. But that would be good. So for example, when you train the model, so you can use the, for example, GrassCam or any interpretability model to see how they behave and then point out this important region and use this as a segmentation. But I agree with you that maybe this is way better than this conventional algorithm, as you don't need to do the segmentation. That's which is the time consuming, and then physician wouldn't like to do this.
And now I have a very difficult question. You know, how can we motivate doctors, experts to participate to this subjective test? To give them connect or to
I think is the best way is just to showing the good result. So if you show this good result and that's it's working, it's real work, so they would be motivated to cooperate with you on this. So if you build a model which is work in real clinical situation, which is robust and generalizable enough, so I think they would be motivated to work and then the progress on this topic of data.
I'm not talking about collaborating because they like to collaborate. They like to spend time on the screen and visualize them.
I see.
Some notes like ranking or score of, related to.
Yeah.
I see. That's that's goes in my mind. It's just that's when you have some tools which make it this analysis easier for them, make this analysis more robust for them. So I would say that's motivate them to collaborate and do this same topic and then work on the AI subject.
So my last question, you published like 21, no, 14 or 14 years, and you have 7 under revision. So can you update us about the significance of the position? Not just to see what.
So that's how we are working in the lab is just not that's we work together. So this is the collaboration between team members. So you need to do all this stuff by yourself. So maybe some of your colleagues had the better experience, so you don't need to focus on that part. He's going to do that because that would be much easier for him. And then I'm going to focus on the part which is that would be my study. So collaborating with the team member and the good collaboration with them, that's the key for this publication. I have the good friend and the collaborator and then professor who supervises us through this
He was more expecting an update on the status of the papers, but you can say that for some of them.
Status of the papers.
Since you.
Yes,
posted
for
a few
sure,
manuscripts.
Two of them actually get this minor revision.
Yeah.
So more success.
Yeah.
For some of them were in 6 months, for instance.
Yeah.
The review is very slow.
The list is too long. It's enough for.
Yeah.
It's more than that,
Yeah, we are.
you know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Carsten,
Yes.
is there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Igladi. So now we come to those people closest to Geneva. And I would suggest that we start with Professor Pryor. You may ask your questions.
I'm sorry, I can't.
Yes. You probably can hear me. I had a question about how the AI-based artifact disentanglement, because in the clinics, it's something we need to do every day, and we have problems of movements and artifacts, and this is really impeding our diagnosis. So we really want to get rid of everything we can. So you showed several different kind of artifacts, the halo, the motion truncation, and the metal artifact and mismatch. So I wanted to know a bit in the same sense of your question about how well can it correct, and is there an artifact that is much easier to correct than the others? So
For sure.
maybe you can tell us about
Sure. You know that's
What you can do is just to repeat very quickly, summarize the question for the audience.
So the question was just by using this artifact correction, which one is the much easier to correct using this proposed method?
Which one is the most difficult?
Which one is the most difficult? So actually, our approaches is just based on the clean data set, directly going from non-attenuation correction to the attenuation correction. And these artifacts mainly generated by using the CT-based attenuation correction. So we suppose that any kind of artifact, so we don't have this CT attenuation correction during the process. So that would be removed during the process. But to answer your question, I think there's a halo one is not that much easy because it may appear also in the non-attenuation correction images. Actually, you would have the sum region and couldn't be appear at that because of the scatter correction is not done on this images. But you know that's the noisy nature of the images could make it harder to do this correction on these images. But the easier one would be the motion and the mismatch one because this. We don't have any information in the non-attenuation and scatter correction images. So these are the question. And also for the CT for the metal artifact is it's just you know that's maybe it's not affected qualitatively on images, but the quantitatively even the CT metal artifact corrected images. If you look at the corrected images, you will find some pixel. With the, you know, that's for the soft tissue, it's give the Hounsfield unit of -300, which is corrected for line. So also this one maybe doesn't affect the qualitatively, but may affect the quantification.
Thank you for your response. And now you probably will need to repeat the question. So one of the other question is, you know that motion is a problem. So in order to diminish motion, maybe what can be used is to get more sensitivity, and this would be also to get a better denoising. You presented on very low dose CT. Are those techniques applicable to the PET side to be able to go faster? And maybe if a PET scan is lasting half of the time of the acquisition, the patient are moving less. So this is also a way to reduce motion artifact.
Yeah, so the question is just to see this the loaders performance on this, you know, this removing this artifact in the artifact. That's a good point, but and also you know that's correct. So we can use the different method for the CT motion artifact correction mainly appeared in this region. So depend on the how to manage of the city acquisition, inhalation, and exhalation. But using the loaders, multiple loaders, so maybe we can could generate an images which is are well matched with this PET images. I mean, this averaging in the different during the frame. So that's maybe also could improve the and remove the artifact of this region.
Maybe one more question about using better match loaders CT to avoid these motion artifacts around the liver. I mean, could you transform your CT using optical transformation so that it would better match actually the PET, and then you could use your transform CT for making a better correction.
Exactly. That's a really good question, and also I saw this work by the Siemens, and also you are also part of this. EGNMI published this, so you can transform transfer the image of the CT to the PET and register them, and then correct this. This is one of the good approaches actually, which we didn't investigate it, but maybe that would be way better than direct. I wouldn't say the way better because they have both some limitation and the advantage, but that would be good because you are just transforming and the corrected attenuation CT map rather than generating the images directly from the PET. So what we are proposing in this is that using the PET QNet or the single shot in addition to the images in the CT. But that would be, you just corrected the image in the way you can just have the good, so you have the one images. So, but we are proposing a method not to replace the CT-based attenuation correction, because the quantification maybe would be, that's physician couldn't trust on the direct attenuation. Rather, we just proposing to use this method in addition to the CTAC to see this, how is this artifact, is it removed or not. But this kind of work, which is just registration of the CT and the non-attenuation correction, would be another approaches, which would be useful, and the implementation, real implementation, and generating one images rather than two images.
And maybe one answer to the previous expert's question about how to integrate and having doctors helping you in your studies. You probably have to target junior doctors that they may have more time and motivate them. As you're publishing very much, this would be also of high interest for them to start their academic career, and so you may get a better participation to your study and better, if you wish, observer or more observer to integrate into your study. So this is just a tip.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. And we come to Professor Thiron.
Yeah.
May I want to ask your questions?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. So first of all, indeed, congratulations. Very, very impressive work, both in quantity and quality. And this is highly reflected by the number and the quality of your publications. So extremely impressive.
Thank you so much.
And I think you have 23 chapters, right?
Yes.
And I try to restrict myself to 2 questions per chapter.
Not
true. But I could, if you really wish. No, maybe I would focus on a few of them only, which are closer to my scientific interests. And maybe if we talk about the first study on the SPECT, the sampling, let's say, time reduction. You came up with quite a lot of quantitative measures, which is very good. And you also discussed a little bit the clinical relevance of those acceleration. But can you detail a little bit more? What was what is the results in terms of the clinical usability? I mean, what is the level of signal that you want to detect to identify a pathology, and whether this is within the noise range or not? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether the techniques that you introduce change the quantification as compared to the difference that you want to detect for diagnosing something there.
So that's a really good question. So you can see it here. So we also compare this half timing, which is the original half timing. You can see it here. It's important. and the half projection here. So you can see that this is the under reconstructed images. So this is not in the projection space. So if you reconstruct these images, even with the half projection images, you will get the good quality still, this kind of images. But for the half timing, you will not get good quality of images.
But you say good quality, but your
good-
measure is a quantitative
Yeah,
measure, which is
I mean the
an
quantity.
error measure.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
what is the error that is admissible as compared to the changes that you want to detect, the diagnosis of
Exactly.
pathology in the heart? for
I
instance?
see. I see. We didn't analyze the in terms of the quantification qualitatively, but in next study we did. First of all, and then you know that this we did analyze, for example, this on the. We haven't any physician or observer in this study. Rather, we use the SEDAR Signer software to see this how it's affected on the metrics extracted for the analysis by the physician.
Exactly.
So
But
we,
I think the metrics is one thing. The changes in that metrics that corresponds to a pathology
Exactly.
is what you have to compare it with.
yeah, exactly. That's true. And
Because
also,
3% in the clinical metrics might be significant or not with respect to the diagnosis that you want to pose. Or that
Exactly.
Actually, the
exactly.
medical doctors want to pose.
That's totally correct. And you can see, for example, here for the half time, you can see the R score, which is very low. But for example, for the half projection and predicted one, it's really high. But for answering this question, we didn't analyze the qualitatively, but I can say this qualitative analysis for the low dose images here. So in this study, we analyzed these images in terms of qualitatively. And also, I didn't bring this for each lesion also, each type of lesion. So we saw that somehow it's preserved and improve the quality of images, but simultaneously change the type of lesion. So for example, here you can see this, the deep learning just improve the quality of images, but change the type of lesion here. So you can see that from the patchy for the COVID, it just changed to the consolidation.
Exactly.
So it's affect on the patient management. So we should be careful about this, and we need this.
And I think ultimately this is the kind of measure that you want to
Yeah,
report in
exactly.
a systematic way.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you very much. Maybe my second question, again, more on the side of the reconstruction, either SPECT or CT, whatever. And this was mentioned before, you're positioning your work in terms of what some people would say post-processing, which that you had the image already reconstructed and you filter on the hand stem, we can discuss that. Do you think that it would be competitive to also consider the image reconstruction itself from the raw data and have deep learning, not necessarily end-to-end, but deep learning more intrinsically linked with the reconstruction itself?
Exactly.
What is your opinion about that, and how far do you think you can go there?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. For I could answer with this: the aspect imaging perform on the sinogram domain, which is not the reconstructed images. So, but for the low-dose images, yes, we did it on the image domain. But using this, which is the lots of studies such as the PET image reconstruction, just doing the part of the reconstruction by the deep learning. So just replacing, for example, this function which is doing this iteration on this with the deep learning, which outperform all algorithms. So compared to this algorithm, for sure that would be way much better than this just using the end-to-end image space training. So I'm sure that, for example, this GE company just recently implemented the time of flight in the image domain, or for the G also for the CT reconstruction, they just change the loop of the reconstruction, iterative reconstruction with the module of the deep learning, rather than doing the all process of the reconstruction from the sinogram to just improve it. I would say that's way better than just doing the end.
With the risk that you have no proof of convergence.
Yeah.
So there is always the risk, those reconstruction, iterative reconstruction algorithms, they are supposed to be somehow convex, at least convergent. If you replace one step, which is a convex part, by a deep network, you break the proof of convergence. So it's pretty risky, don't you? Don't you think so?
Yeah, that's true. But also, that's it could appear for the image domain also. That's kind of error could be. We will have the same error. So, but rather I would say that's reconstruction would be.
Careful. Okay. Yeah, the quality control, the question about the same topic as spoken prior. Can you just, because I didn't find the details of the method that you have there. It is written that you can find it in the supplementary material, but there is no supplementary material. So this is probably something that remains from the paper itself, and I apologize, I didn't go to the paper. So can you just explain a bit more whether it was, my question is more specific, whether it was a supervised or a non-supervised approach?
This is the supervised approach. This is the U2Net architecture. You can see the architecture here. Rather than going to the, you want to know about the detail of the
was it described in?
This, I think this on the supplementary, because of the journal we submitted, they requested to
They don't care about them.
Yeah, exactly. And then they said that we should move it to the supplementary.
Yeah, so okay, now I have my answer. So you use again one of those classical architects.
Exactly, super.
Therefore, my question, let's move on my real question. Do you think that, so, and I was not sure about that one, but the rest of your work is very much supervised as well?
Exactly.
What do you think about non-supervised approaches or semi-supervised or self-supervised? What do you think? What role could they play in the medical imaging community? Because you have done 23 studies, so you have a very broad view on where AI can be used.
I see.
What do you think about non-supervised?
Yeah, unsupervised and semi-supervised metric training as self-supervised could be used in case of we don't have a lots of data sets, for example, or would be very challenging and time consuming for the segmentation. For example, for lymphoma cancer, which we have the multiple lesion across the body. So we could use this semi-supervised to, rather than looking at the generating the ground truth with each lesion. So we could use this semi-supervised. Actually, in one of our study, which our colleagues, so we did compare the supervised, semi-supervised, and unsupervised approaches. And then we found out that with the supervised, so you will get the highest quality of the metric in terms of, for example, dice for the lymphoma. But by using this semi-supervised, had the really good potential to do this case. For example,
this gives you access to much larger data sets because you don't have to have them annotated.
Exactly, that's true. And also I can say that with the 20 cases, just the segmentation, we achieve almost same performance with the 5% difference with the unsupervised and the supervised learning. Still, the supervised learning produced the highest quality, but with supervised learning, we could achieve with the 20 data sets compared to 100 data sets. So I would say that's
for the artifact, at least for the detection of them, the same would apply. I think techniques like anomaly detection, which really rely on normal images only. Do you think it could play a role there?
Yeah. Anomaly detection could play a very good role on this. For example, for the artifact detection, we could train a network, which is again on the terrain set.
Exactly.
It may find out another kind of artifact, maybe such as the Gibbs artifact, which is not included in this artifacts in this study.
You would not identify them, but at least you would detect them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That has a lot good.
Very good. Thank you. I think that's basically it. I also had a question, very much the same as the first one, on the deployment of the federated learning, because we had a student.
Maxim.
Were kind enough to supervise. There was indeed a problem with the firewall.
Exactly.
You answered that question already. So I think I will stop here for the sake of time. But congratulations.
Thank you.
Very impressive work.
Thank you so much.
Again, both in quantity and quality.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, President.
Thank you very much. And before giving the word to Habib Zaidi to say make a few remarks, I would also like to take the opportunity to ask 2 or 3 questions. Now, I'm an outsider of the field, and since you have chosen to present rather comprehensively your work, I will not ask anything in detail, of course, and I apologize already for asking very naive questions. But I would like to follow up on maybe the first question of Professor Thiron, which I think has also societal implications, of course, because the work that you are doing and many of your colleagues, they advance so fast. But the question is still, I mean, how good can these methods become? Where's the limit? And in particular, if you compare to the, let's say, best radiologists that are around today, where do you see how far can you go? Asked in a more provocative way, if we, let's say, we focus on the diagnostic part, what would be the role of radiologists in the future in this part?
Thanks for this question. It's just was a question to what's this radiologist part, for example, in the diagnostic model compared to the deep learning algorithm or machine learning algorithm. So I would say that these tools could be useful tools, and this addition tools. It's not going to replace with the radiology. Rather than it could be used in the good purpose, which plays radiologists for the using, so which could improve and enhance the diagnostic and also this management of the patient. I would say that's also that this method could be integrated in the clinic, which could help the patient and the radiologist.
So where do you think is the radiologist better and will always be better than your algorithm?
So that's I wouldn't say that it's going to be better, but that it would be a tools just like any kind of tools such as the MRI, CT, which could acquire the image set, any data set, and then this could be a tools rather than the replacing with them for them to increase this personalized and enhance the personalized medicine.
Okay, so I'm not able to make you make any provocative statement. And my last question would be, I mean, you've presented so many different things that you have done. Could you please highlight the one thing that you think is the most important contribution that you did during your thesis from your point of view, and tell us also why you think that?
For sure. So the question is just to highlight which work is the could be the most highlighted of the project. So I would say again, this that we did it a wide range of study, but that, for example, for the detection and quantification, we need a much larger data set and build a model which is really generalizable in the clinic. So be sure about the repeatability, generalizability of model. But I would say this quality control and assurance of work could be immediately implemented in the physician, which we are actually following with the different companies, just like Siemens and GE, to see this, that's how we could implement in real clinical situation and do the clinical trial, and which clinical trial study on this proposed method. So I would say this study has this potential to enroll in the clinic very soon.
Thank you very much. And without further ado, please, Habib, you may want to say some words.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Carsten. Yeah, I think it's important now to say a few words about Isaac as a scientist, but also as a human being, because I feel it's also important in this context. So I was trying to improvise first, and then I thought it's important also to take some notes just to make sure that I'm not going to forget anything. So we don't have tradition here in Switzerland to make long lectures as we are used to do in the Netherlands and other Scandinavian countries. I'll just start from the very beginning. So I think we met first in Tehran a number of years ago, and then I crossed each other in the corridors. I think after my talk, and you asked me a very tough question about neural network architectures, what would be the best one to achieve resolution recovery working on these problems. And I think I saw the passion in your eyes, and I was sure at that time that you'll be a very good scientist. And then after discussions with my friend Armand, so I was very happy that you're not going to Vancouver, to British Columbia, and then you came here. And so you're hard as PhD students, and so my tuition, I think, paid off. And we also today that you did really a lot of work against us, as all the members of the jury said, both in terms of quality but also in quantity. So which is nice, and very proud of you. And I think you also brought some new blood to the lab. You're very excited, very self-motivated, being ready to face a number of challenges on your way. You developed an impressive number of novel techniques, algorithms that you partly demonstrated today. Scientific productivity extremely high, and I think I can say very probably one of the most important, one of the most motivated, and probably the best, one of the best PhD students I have ever had in my academic career. I must also mention in this context that we are also discussing with UNITEC, the Transfer Technology Office here at the University of Geneva, to patent some of the works that we presented today. So obviously there are some hidden parts which people can understand for obvious reasons. And I think your stay in the lab was full of joy and fun, working on interesting problems with your colleagues here. And interestingly, you have a number of joint papers with the colleagues, which is very exciting and very nice. Clearly, so without being motivated, hardworking, creative, and fully dedicated to your work, such results would have not been possible at all. However, if I ever asked what is your main distinctive skill, I would emphasize your ability to move forward, no matter what the challenges are. When the hurdle is set too high, so you will never give up. You always see it as a challenge and not as an obstacle. It was a pleasure to be your supervisor during all these years, and I'd like to emphasize the role of your colleagues here in the lab, with whom you have worked for a number of years, and I think you've got, as I mentioned, a number of joint papers, which is good. So with this, I would like to thank also all the members of the lab present here, the members of the jury for the precious time and for providing interesting feedback, asking us interesting questions, which are, I think, important for the continuation of this work. And thank you, Isaac, for the way you are, and good luck for the future. Thank you so much. Thank you, Carsten.
Okay, thank you very much. And now I think it's the good tradition that we open up the discussion so that people in the room can also ask questions if they have any. I mean, we had already nice discussions, I think, but maybe there are some more questions from the audience. So now somebody has to tell me if there are any.
We spread the word.
Good, so
I think we don't have any questions, Carsten.
okay, good. Then thank you all again. So this closes then the public part of the defense. And Habib, should we all now leave the Zoom and join the meeting?
So we leave the Zoom open. Actually, we just move the members of the jury. I think is better. We move to
Okay.
and then we have the confidential discussions on the Teams meetings for you. Yeah, Chi and Isam. So we need to join the Teams meeting. Right?
Okay, good. I would just ask everybody then to mute this. Good. So I see that Habib is back. The camera of Isaac is switched on. So I guess we can continue. So the committee has deliberated. We have discussed your report a little bit and also your presentation. And I guess, Isaac, what you could already feel from the way the questions were asked and also the remarks that were made prior to the questions asked, the jury in general was very, very pleased with your presentation, with the work that you've done, impressed by the amount of work, but also by the depth of what you have achieved. And so without any hesitation, we unanimously, obviously, decided that we propose you for promotion by the University of Geneva. So you are not yet allowed to call yourself doctor, but of course everybody else is free to do so. And so it's my privilege to congratulate you, Dr. Isaac Shiri Lord. Again, congratulations to the very nice work that you've done and all the best for the future.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Really well. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Another one. Oh, what is that? Very good.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Yeah, this is nice.
That's okay.
Upside down.
Upside down, yeah.
Upside down.
Just tell me. Much better. Thank you.
Much better. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We can see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, nice work. You really set a very high bar for all the future students. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very impressive work.
Thank you.
And I think this concludes the official part, and now you can go on and party.
Thank you, Casimir.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Congratulations. Take
Very
care.
nice work. Very nice dressing.
Thanks for coming.
Then your advice will be.
Yeah.
have the upper
Yeah, we
downstairs.
have the upper dancer.
So
So
invite us so that we can socialize and relax.